Vikings, the greatest warriors ever known, feared and admired across the realm. Ready to fight once more for the glory and prosperity of their people. This particular village was home to two young Vikings, Bashkir and Oddmar, destined for greatness by decree of the gods themselves. Unfortunately, the gods did not tell them of this plan. Just as he had countless times before, Oddmar farewelled his parents. They always returned to him. This time was different. Years passed, and the Viking warriors continued on their pillaging voyages and grew ever richer. The Viking chief was proud of his people, but he was greedy, single-minded. He wished to expand his village, regardless of the consequences. The chief despised Oddmar. He'd never fought for his village and survived off their scraps. But the chief would tolerate this behavior no longer. Oddmar would have to single-handedly loot the forest, burn it to the ground, so their village may prosper. And if he refused, he would face the same fate as his old friend Vaskar. After being ridiculed by his village, Oddmar ran home to his hut. Oddmar felt hurt and lost. He loved his people, but he couldn't be what they wanted him to be. Perhaps he thought he wasn't a true Viking. Maybe some sleep would do him good. Oddmar couldn't believe his eyes. At his side was his long-lost friend Vaskar. And in front of them stood the hallowed gates of Valhalla. "Wait!" cried Oddmar, as his old friend stepped into the light. In front of Oddmar appeared a strange apparition, a forest fairy. She condemned Oddmar's selfish ways and his squandered potential. He had let down those closest to him. He did not deserve a place in Valhalla. But she offered him a deal, a great power. If used correctly, perhaps he could earn his place in Valhalla, but at a price. Oddmar woke up with excitement. What a strange dream. It felt so real. And how did this pouch get here? Was this what he saw in his dream? He looked inside the bag. A mushroom? The villagers were bewildered by the sight of Oddmar's newfound powers. Would these powers help Oddmar redeem himself as a Viking? Perhaps Oddmar could become a great warrior just as his friend Vaskar was. But is destroying the forest the right thing to do? There was loud commotion in the crowd. "Oddmar!" roared the chief. "You dare to bring this cursed magic to our village? This is a new low. Death on the battlefield is too noble a fate for you. Perhaps the Kraken should teach you a lesson at the bottom of the sea. You can't hide from the gods, Oddmar!" The chief bellowed as Oddmar leapt away. The skies turned dark. Thunder struck. Suddenly, the villagers vanished. Oddmar was shocked. Who took his people? Was it the gods? Why was he left behind? He had to find out. Oddmar wasn't used to days like this. What was he even fighting for? If he somehow retrieved his villagers, would the chief still cast him out? Maybe, if he could capture the one responsible. Perhaps they'd forgive him for his life of cowardice. "Goblin!" shouted Oddmar. "Why are you watching me? I have questions for you." The creature bolted away, and Oddmar's attention turned to a wild boar. "Please, noble beast," pleaded Oddmar. "Help me catch that monster." Oddmar had found a great friend in the boar. Even though they'd lost track of the goblin, the boar had given him more help than anyone in recent years. Just as Oddmar bid his new friend farewell, suddenly the fairy from his dream appeared.
I didn't grant these powers so you could spend your days chasing monsters,
said the fairy pointedly. Oddmar was surprised and said, I thought you only existed in my dream. I gave you these powers for a reason, said the fairy. We need your help, Oddmar. Oh, help with what? Oddmar asked reluctantly. My people are gone. I need to find them. You have to save the forest, said the fairy. You have to restore balance to the world. Restore balance? Oddmar started, but he was interrupted by a loud growl emanating from the forest. You have to hurry, said the fairy. We don't have much time, Oddmar. And in a flash, she was gone. A troll. And it was right in Oddmar's path. He needed to pass it in order to enter the forest. Oddmar was careful not to wake the troll, but it was too late. You dare set foot in my forest? Roared the troll. I am the protector of this forest. Oh, this is a dream. Go back to sleep, Oddmar urged. A dream? Replied the troll. No. Oh, no. For you, it shall be a nightmare. You shall pay for what your kind has done to our home. Had to admit it. Without that strange monster he'd been chasing, he was lost. Oddmar, the creature whispered as he snuck up on him from behind. Oddmar was startled, but quickly slammed the creature to the ground. He had finally caught the creature and demanded, Tell me where you've taken my people, goblin. Do I look like a goblin to you? The creature replied. Oddmar became even more enraged. Okay. Look, the creature said nervously. I don't know where they've taken them, and I don't know who did it. I don't know why you would even care. There's an elder deep in the forest. He knows everything that happens here. If they're in the forest, he'll know. Just down the river. All right, but if you're lying, you know I can catch you again, said Oddmar as he released the creature. Ooh, a Viking hut. It was strange there was one so deep in the forest. Could this be the place the goblin spoke of? Perhaps inside there were answers. The hut was abandoned. All that remained was a book. Although Oddmar was never one for reading, he opened it. Inside the book, it read, Diary of Vaskar, the Disgraced. Could his old friend still be alive? With Oddmar's parents gone, Vaskar took Oddmar in. Despite this huge responsibility at such a young age, Vaskar had impressed the chief and become a promising young warrior. The chief was so impressed, he decided Vaskar was to lead the Vikings into the forest for the first time. Vaskar went to the forest alone to prepare. But the more he went out there, the less he wanted to hurt anything within it. He begged the chief to reconsider, but the chief was not a very thoughtful man. When Vaskar refused to lead the charge, he was labeled a traitor and was banished. Much time passed, and a fairy visited Vaskar. A great threat to the forest was looming, and her people were in danger. She knew she could trust him with the great power to save the forest. He had no idea he was to fight the god of chaos. Vaskar was almost victorious, but Loki, in desperation, turned Vaskar's own powers against him. He was cursed, but Loki was driven from the forest for now. The curse was quickly consuming Vaskar, but the fairy could not help. Loki's hold on the forest and their magic was still too tight. The fairy asked if there was anyone else who could help. Vaskar was reluctant to put his friend in danger, but he had no choice. Oddmar always asked himself why he never went out there, why he was too scared to try and help his friend as he had helped him. He often thought about that. But where was Vaskar now? Perhaps his answer laid further down the river. The cranky elder had been woken up by Oddmar and was eager to get back to sleep. "I'm sorry I woke you up," said Oddmar, "but I need your help to find my people." "The gods entrusted the forest to your people," the elder replied. "But you destroy it for your own gain. Why should I, the great elder of the forest, help you?" Oddmar didn't know how to respond and felt ashamed. "The forest goblin," Oddmar uttered. "He told me that you had answers. Please help me." The elder paused. He knew that the creature Oddmar was referring to had made a great sacrifice to protect the forest. He decided to help Oddmar. "Underneath the great mountain, there is a powerful golem," explained the elder. "It will not help you willingly, but it has the key to the gate between worlds." Oddmar's spirits were lifted and asked the elder, "Between worlds? Will I find my people there? Do you know where Vaskar is?" The elder yawned, closed his eyes and muttered, "Oh, I grow tired, Viking. I'm not used to speaking this much." The elder fell into a deep slumber, and Oddmar was on his way. Oddmar ventured deeper into the forest and encountered a band of goblins holding a forest critter prisoner. Although his greatest challenge lay ahead in that mountain, and he was resolved to stay on his path, he knew that helping that poor critter was the right thing to do. "Come, new friend!" he shouted as he smashed the cage and freed the prisoner. The squirrely creature was thankful. In return, he agreed to help the Viking along his journey. Oddmar thanked the squirrel. He had taken him very far. Perhaps he could find help in this village. The village was deserted. Could Oddmar be the last Viking in all of the land? If he failed, would he be destined to walk alone until the end of his days? Oddmar had heard stories as a child of the beast of legend that lurked below the water. But unless disturbed, that is where it would stay. The Kraken. It was real. Perhaps the chief's wish would come true. Admar's senses had sharpened throughout his journey. He could feel someone was watching him. "I know you're there, Goblin," said Admar firmly. "I am not a goblin, Admar," said the creature and sighed. "I may look like this now, but there was a time when you and I were not that different. It couldn't be, could it? Not only had this creature been helping him all along, but this creature was in fact his